Today, I'm checking into Disney's Port Orleans Riverside at Walt Disney World. I'll show you exactly what it's like to stay at this sprawling resort, from the rooms, dining, things to do, and transportation. Plus, I'll explore her sister resort, Disney's Port Orleans French Quarter, to see which one might work out better for you. Hello everyone, from a very sunny day here at Walt Disney World, we're on our way to Port Orleans Riverside for a weekend staycation. We make our way through the security gate and pull up near the main lobby. Arriving at Disney's Port Orleans Resort Riverside, the first impression immediately sets the tone. Massive trees line the road, the grounds feel quiet, peaceful. It's already feeling separated from the energy that usually comes with a Disney vacation. Our room is not ready yet, which is completely expected since we arrived earlier in the day, but there is absolutely no chance I'm leaving my luggage and camera equipment sitting inside a Florida car for hours. Bell Services quickly solves that problem. We drop off our bags and head inside to officially let Disney know we've arrived. Even though we completed online check-in ahead of time, we stop by the front desk just to let them know we're flexible and happy to take the first available room. That flexibility ends up paying off. Only a few minutes later, we get the notification we were hoping for. Our room is ready. One of the benefits of online check-in is that there's no waiting around once Disney assigns you your room. We simply head back to the car and drive directly over. Port Orleans Riverside feels enormous compared to many Disney resorts. The property stretches along the Sassagoula River and is divided into two distinct sections. Magnolia Bend features grand white mansion-style buildings inspired by the Old South, while Alligator Bayou leans into a more rustic Louisiana backcountry atmosphere. For this trip, Magnolia Bend is home. Walking into the room, the recent renovation stands out immediately. Disney has updated these rooms significantly, and the difference is noticeable the second we step inside. The room feels brighter than older Disney moderate resorts. Warm colors give it a welcoming feel, and the updated design adds personality without overdoing the Disney theme. There are subtle touches inspired by Princess Tiana throughout the room. Artwork on the walls celebrates New Orleans and Princess and the Frog, giving Port Orleans Riverside something that makes Disney resorts memorable. The room feels connected to the story of the resort rather than simply functioning as a place to sleep. The shower area itself is fairly compact. Families traveling with very young children may notice there's no bathtub, which could be challenging for parents who prefer bath time over showers. Our room category is Standard View, which is essentially Disney language for the more economical option. Sometimes Standard View means staring at a parking lot. This time, though, we get lucky. Outside our window sits a peaceful garden area surrounded by landscaping and trees. It feels quiet, relaxing. The kind of view that works perfectly when the goal for this weekend is slowing down. In my video on where to find the best rooms at Port Orleans Riverside, I note that Standard View is often interchangeable with Garden View. I'll link to that video in the show notes. After spending some time exploring the room, it feels like time to head toward the pool. Port Orleans Riverside gives guests multiple options. There's a smaller leisure pool located much closer to our building, but today we decide to head over to Old Man Island, the main feature pool of the hotel. The atmosphere changes immediately. Families fill the pool deck. Kids race toward the Waterslide. There's even a DJ bringing extra energy to the area. One thing Port Orleans Riverside does really well is balance activity with relaxation. The feature pool feels lively without feeling overwhelming. Nearby sits Muddy River's pool bar. The bartenders stay busy refilling resort mugs and serving frozen drinks while guests settle fully into vacation mode. After swimming for a while, hunger eventually wins. The solution today comes in classic Disney form, a Mickey pretzel with cheese. The total comes out to around $10, which feels mildly ridiculous for a pretzel, but somehow Disney vacation logic makes it acceptable, at least temporarily. After spending more time by the pool, we eventually head back toward the room. The air conditioning immediately gets set to Arctic blizzard, curtains close, the room settles into that quiet afternoon Disney resort atmosphere. And before long, a vacation nap wins. A little later in the evening, we get cleaned up and head toward dinner. Tonight, we have reservations at Boatwright's dining hall. I have visited plenty of Disney restaurants over the years, but somehow I've never been to this one before. Boatwright's immediately surprises me with how well Disney executed the theme. The restaurant feels like stepping inside a Louisiana shipbuilder's workshop. Large wooden beams frame the space. Tools line the walls. Above the dining area sits the partially built keel of a riverboat. Disney even designed large workshop-style doors facing toward the river, creating the impression that completed boats could eventually launch directly into the water. It feels thoughtful, intentional. Classic Disney storytelling that comes with a Disney World hotel stay. Dinner starts with bread service alongside garlic or butter. Simple, comforting, exactly what you want after spending an afternoon in the parks and at the pool. For my entree, I order the shrimp and pappardelle. Michelle goes with a fresh wedge salad topped with grilled chicken. Both meals immediately exceed expectations. The shrimp arrive perfectly cooked and surprisingly large. The pasta feels rich without being heavy. As locals who dine around Disney World property fairly often, we immediately agree on one thing: Boatwright's deserves another visit. After dinner, we make our way over toward Old Man Island again, where Disney has one of those small resort activities that somehow become surprisingly memorable. A supervised campfire sits nearby. Families gather around to toast some complimentary marshmallows. It feels simple, but it's an extra touch that separates Disney hotels from the rest. Originally, our plan for the evening involved taking a boat over to Disney Springs. Port Orleans Riverside offers one of the best transportation perks on Disney property, with boat service directly to Disney's shopping, dining, and entertainment complex. Unfortunately, Florida weather has other ideas. After waiting close to 40 minutes, cast members let everyone know that approaching thunderstorms have temporarily suspended boat operations. So we pivot and decide to drive over to Magic Kingdom instead. It's open late tonight, so we'll still have plenty of time to enjoy a night out. We'll save Disney Springs for tomorrow. We start by keeping the Tiana theme going at Tiana's Bayou Adventure. This is a reimagined log flume style attraction inspired by The Princess and the Frog. Guests board hollowed-out logs and drift into a musical journey through the Louisiana Bayou. The ride blends slow-moving scenes filled with fireflies, critters, and swamp life storytelling before building toward a series of drops, including a major final splash. It keeps the classic water ride structure, but reframes it with Tiana's story, jazz-inspired music, and a celebratory finale that ties directly into the theme of Port Orleans Riverside. Next, we head to Pirates of the Caribbean, which also carries that Louisiana Caribbean vibe. This is a classic indoor boat ride that takes you through a sprawling pirate world filled with detailed scenes and animatronic characters. The journey begins in a quiet, fort-like setting before drifting into pirate ambushes, burning towns, and chaotic dockside battles. It's a slow-moving ride, but densely packed with storytelling from start to finish, and one of my all-time favorite attractions at Walt Disney World. As the night continues on, we catch Disney's Starlight, Dream the Night Away, a parade that rolls through the park with glowing floats, soft projections of light, and classic Disney characters appearing in a more dreamlike illuminated style. It's one of those moments where Magic Kingdom fully leans into its nighttime identity, and it has great music too. And while our night at Disney Springs didn't work out, sometimes the unplanned moments end up becoming the best parts of the trip. But now we're exhausted. I'm conflicted about this resort. I love the sprawling layout and the individual buildings. It creates a unique atmosphere that's truly Disney. But on the other hand, everything's a long walk away, and I noticed this more on the way back to my room. But day 1 is now officially behind us, and shortly after getting back to our room, it's lights out. Good morning from Disney's Port Orleans Riverside. One of my favorite things about staying overnight at a Disney resort is experiencing those quieter hours before the day fully begins. Early in the morning, the pathways feel peaceful, the crowds have not yet arrived, and the atmosphere around the resort feels completely different compared to the middle of the afternoon when families are heading toward buses, pools, and food courts. And because we spent most of yesterday around Magnolia Bend, this morning feels like the perfect opportunity to explore the other side of this property. Coffee in one hand and camera in the other, I make my way toward Alligator Bayou. Almost immediately, the atmosphere changes. Magnolia Bend feels elegant and manicured. Large white mansion buildings sit among beautifully landscaped pathways, and the architecture leans heavily into old Southern estate-style design. Alligator Bayou creates an entirely different feeling. The buildings become smaller and more rustic. The landscaping becomes more natural. Trees surround the pathways, and the entire area feels more secluded compared to Magnolia Bend. I like this area a little bit better. Port Orleans Riverside is a true Disney classic, built during a time when hotel design was a big deal at Disney. The idea of creating 2 themes in one resort complex definitely goes back to the Michael Eisner era of Disney. One of the advantages of staying at either Port Orleans resort is how easy it is to visit both during your stay. The walkway connecting Riverside and French Quarter makes the 2 resorts feel like extensions of one another rather than completely separate Disney hotels. Within a few minutes, Port Orleans French Quarter begins coming into view. The difference between the 2 resorts immediately stands out. Where Riverside spreads out and feels expansive, Port Orleans French Quarter feels compact and easy to navigate. Disney leaned heavily into the New Orleans inspiration here. Colorful buildings line the pathways. Decorative iron railings frame the balconies. Street lamps and architectural details help create a setting that feels very different from Riverside while still fitting perfectly beside it. One thing longtime Disney fans often mention about Port Orleans French Quarter is its size, or rather lack of size. French Quarter is one of Walt Disney World's smallest resorts, and for many guests that becomes one of its biggest strengths. Walking distances stay short. Getting coffee in the morning becomes easier. Returning to your room after a long park day is a wonderful thing. Even standing at the bus stop this morning helps put things into perspective. At French Quarter, even guests staying furthest away from transportation are usually only a few minutes from where they need to be. Before heading back toward Riverside, I stopped briefly near the pool area. French Quarter features its own themed waterslide and pool complex, and while it may not feel quite as large as Riverside's feature pool, it fits the resort perfectly. Nearby sits the gift shop along with a smaller food court area. Compared to Riverside Mill Food Court, French Quarter feels noticeably less crowded. That smaller size creates a very different experience, and I completely understand why so many Disney guests become loyal fans of this resort. Eventually, I make my way back to Riverside. By now, Michelle is awake, and breakfast quickly becomes the next priority. We head toward Riverside Mill Food Court. One thing Port Orleans Riverside handles particularly well is crowd flow. The resort accommodates a large number of guests, but despite that, breakfast service moves efficiently. The food court keeps everything moving. This morning calls for a Disney classic. Mickey waffles, bacon, sausage. Some Disney vacation traditions simply never get old. After breakfast, we stop by Fulton's General Store just off the main lobby. Disney gift shops somehow create an impossible situation where you walk inside planning to just browse for 5 minutes and somehow leave holding merchandise you absolutely did not plan on buying or need. Nearby sits the River Roost Lounge. It sits quiet now, but longtime Disney visitors know that later tonight this space transforms completely. River Roost is home to Yeehaw Bob Jackson, one of Walt Disney World's most beloved resort entertainers. Guests will pack this lounge where audience participation and laughter will take over. We make a second attempt to visit Disney Springs. Perfect timing, no line. We walk right on. The boat pulls away from the dock and starts making its way down the Sassagoula River. We make a quick stop at Port Orleans French Quarter to let off a few passengers before continuing on to Disney Springs. And honestly, this boat ride becomes part of the experience. The scenery slowly changes as we travel through the areas of Disney property that most guests never get to see. We pass the treehouse villas tucked away through the trees, a completely different side of Walt Disney World. Then, one of the most unique sights anywhere in Disney property comes into view: the amphicars from the boathouse. Vintage-style cars that actually drive directly into the water and become boats. A few minutes later, we arrive at Disney Springs. One of our first stops is Disney Co-op. If you're the kind of Disney fan who likes merchandise that feels a little more unique, this place is worth visiting. Disney Co-op feels designed more for Disney fans than casual vacation shoppers. There's artwork, specialty collections, apparel, and home items. Of course, no Disney Springs visit feels complete without stepping inside World of Disney. Calling it a store almost feels inaccurate. It feels more like an entire Disney merchandise experience. Room after room filled with Disney products, character collections, park merchandise, seasonal items. If Disney sells it, there's a good chance it is somewhere inside this store. After more shopping, lunch is calling. We stop at Blaze Pizza. This feels like one of the better food values anywhere at Walt Disney World. I go with a meatball specialty pie, thin crust, wood-fired oven, fresh mozzarella, meatballs, a fantastic pizza for all around $10. By now though, the Florida heat is starting to win. And suddenly, one thing sounds better than anything else: the pool back at Port Orleans Riverside. This time we skip the boat. Air conditioning wins. We hop on the bus back to the resort, and about 10 minutes later we're pulling back into Riverside. We change for the pool and finish out the afternoon staying cool here. So this is where I leave you today. I have another video coming up right now filled with more unique Disney tips, experiences, and helpful advice to make your next Disney vacation even better. And I'll see you over there.